Juanita here from the Resonance Centre. I'm just here to tell you, in my opinion, the top 3 Yin Yoga postures for anxiety. Yin Yoga in general is amazing for anxiety, but in my opinion, these 3 always work at calming me down. So I'm just here to offer them to you. I think anxiety is pretty high right now. This is what I'm sort of being told, and this is what I'm getting in feedback from students. Obviously, we're in a really strange situation at the moment, all of us, and it's made the future seem really uncertain. Anxiety is always at its highest when our mind is in the future. So depression is more when our mind is in the past. That's our next video, 3 top Yin Yoga postures for depression. So there's different ways of tackling these emotions using Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga can be really prescriptive at getting to exactly the emotion that it is that we're trying to calm down or soften or quell, or whatever terminology works for you, whatever resonates with you. This video in particular is in relation to anxiety. So for me, one of the best Yin Yoga postures for anxiety is actually one of the only standing postures in Yin Yoga. So sorry about that, but it's really, really works. There's variations and alternatives that you can take for this, but this really does work. Dangling pose. So to get into dangling pose, simply stand up, take the knees, take the feet hip distance apart, comfortable hip distance apart, and then take a nice, generous bend in the knee. Take hold of opposite elbows, fold from the crease in the hips, and just allow everything to dangle, to hang forwards. If you find that you're kind of like this, then take a bigger bend in the knees. Take as much of a bend in the knees as you need to get this dangling motion happening. Have a little sway from side to side if that helps. Have a little wiggle. Let everything start to really feel heavy and folded forwards. And then just stay there. Yin Yoga is about the length of the holds. So it's not a dynamic practice. We don't move much. We just move very, very mindfully and very slowly into and out of the postures. We're aiming to hold the postures, if you're new to Yin Yoga, for approximately 3 minutes. Certainly you don't need to push it any longer than that. If you are quite flexible, quite open, or already practicing Yin Yoga and have been for some time, then gauge it accordingly. You can hold these postures for anything up to sort of 5-6 minutes. What you will find in this posture, if you are very anxious, or you're very tense, or you're particularly tight down the back of your body, so your hamstrings and those kind of areas, you may find that after a couple of minutes, you start to quake, like your legs will start to shake a little bit. It's perfectly normal, it's perfectly understandable for what's happening in the body with this posture. Go with it, allow it. The main thing with Yin Yoga is to breathe. Always breathe. Breathe deeply, breathe slowly, breathe steadily. Breathe into the sensations that are arising as you hold these postures for a prolonged period of time. Breathe into what you're feeling rather than tensing to pull away from it. So every inhale, we're inviting some more space into the body, into whatever area you're feeling is a little tight, a little constricted, a little uncomfortable. And with every exhale, let go of the breath, let go of any tension that you're holding. So this is an unusual posture for Yin Yoga because we are not supporting every single part of the body. With most Yin Yoga postures, and in order for the body to be able to completely relax, for the brain to be able to tell the muscles, okay, you don't need to get involved here, everything is safe, everything is supported, all the bones have a surface to relax into, whether that's blocks, bolsters, or as we'll show in this video, I'll be using props that you can find in your own house, pillows, books, that kind of thing. But that's why we use those a lot in Yin Yoga. This is an unusual posture, but it really, really works for opening the back of the body. If you are tight down the hamstrings, as I really, really was when I first started to practice this posture, it isn't the most comfortable position for you to be in. It isn't particularly comfortable. But really using the breath to stay calm and present, even in the face of this discomfort that we're sort of experiencing, it gives you the clarity of mind and the space in your head to differentiate between this sort of uncomfortable stretching sensation that we have going on down the back of the legs or down the back, to differentiate that from an actual pain that we shouldn't be in and that we should definitely move away from. So certainly if you ever feel any actual pain coming in or out of any of the postures that I show you, then just don't do them. They may not be for your body. So if you have any real pinching sensation or any real burning sensation or any particular pain that you could be very specific and point to, just back away from the posture. We can take a variation, we can do something else. So if that pose is not for you, then you can effectively get the same kind of stretch doing a number of other things. So you could take the legs out in front of you and simply fold forwards, and then use perhaps books, depending on how bendy you are. Maybe take the forehead to the books. Or, if you're not quite that far down, you can stack as many books as you need to here. Pop a pillow on top. Make it a little bit softer, bring it a little bit nearer to the face. And then you can fold forwards and relax and let the head go. Same thing, we're just staying here for 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. If that does not work for you, because again, you're very tight down the hamstrings, that posture was very difficult for me when I first started Yin Yoga. You can do the same thing up a wall. So imagining that I have a wall here, I do not have a wall, but you would shuffle your bottom in as close to the skirting board and the wall as you possibly can, come onto the back and allow the legs to go up the wall in a 90-degree angle. Then you have the wall to support you and your spine is already straight. Sometimes if you're tight down the back, when you come to take a forward fold, you'll find that this is more the shape that starts to happen. So if that's the case, you can really help yourself there by having the wall as the support for the legs, which allows the floor to support the spine. So they are alternatives if dangling forwards does not work for you. Second posture for anxiety. A standard child's pose, so a balasana with the legs, which is big toes together, knees about as wide as your yoga mat, so wider than your hips, but comfortable distance apart. I'm just going to shuffle backwards here. And then walking the hands and the arms out in front of you, you come to bring the forehead down to the floor. To make this a little more targeted for the emotion of anxiety, you're then going to take it into a twist. So press some weight into this left hand so that you can release the right. Send the right arm underneath the left. Come to relax down onto the right shoulder and the right cheek. Same thing, staying there for about 3 minutes. When you come out of that pose, allow everything to just be heavy and to relax. And then take the same posture on the second side. So this time you would lie on the outside of the left shoulder, left cheek, excuse my hair. That arm can just be relaxed, it doesn't have to be stretching. And again, just allow this to settle. Give it about 3 minutes. So you'll really find that that's a very gentle opening through the backs of the shoulders. If you're very tight through the shoulders, it may take a while to settle into that posture or to feel comfortable at all in that posture. If you're finding that to even lie on the outside of that shoulder is very, very uncomfortable for you, you can always pad under the face so it brings you a little higher. So you're not really dumping all of your body weight down onto whichever arm it is that you're taking. So again, there isn't really a right or a wrong to where you stick a pillow or shove a book. It's entirely up to you in the sense that what you're aiming for is to just make sure that everything is supported. Nothing's kind of hanging in midair. So, same thing. If you are struggling to keep your bottom on your heels once you have come forward, if this naturally happens, it's absolutely fine. Just maybe pad something in between so that there is there's something that you can relax backwards into. We're always trying to make sure that everything is completely supported, because only then can you really, really start to relax. So that's the main aim. So that would be posture number 2. Our third and final posture that I would always take for anxiety, and for this one, you really don't need any flexibility. You just need a little blanket folded over. How folded over, so how thick your blanket needs to be, very much depends on the size of your own nose. So each to their own with this one. What you're aiming to do is make it so that if you lie on your tummy and put your forehead on the little blanket, that your nose is not squashed into the floor, basically. So the bigger the nose, you need a higher blanket, basically. Once you've got that, we're going to bring the forehead down onto the blanket, interlace your fingers and make a little basket with your fingers, bring them onto the back of the head, and just allow them to kind of drape forwards. Let the elbows be heavy, let the arms be heavy. And then stay there. It's quite simple, superior pose. So what you're doing over the course of a few minutes there is kind of very gently, because you're not pulling, you're not kind of wrenching the skin on the back of your head forwards, but just the very natural weight of your hands and your arms as everything starts to drop in and get heavier is very gently just pulling on the skin on the back of the head, which is pulling the entire back line of fascia, which is where we're holding this tension, this anxiety. It's a lot more specific than that, but in general, this will absolutely quell those feelings of stress, of tension, of constantly going over the future, worrying about what's to come, having no control over it, which none of us do, but spending all your mental energy there, basically. That would be my 3 recommendations. There's loads of others, and like I say, Yin Yoga is designed to take us away from our sympathetic nervous system and onto our parasympathetic, which is away from our fight or flight tendencies and towards this more nurturing rest and digest kind of territory that we would like to be in more often. I think certainly in our part of the world, in the way that we live, we do tend to be on our sympathetic nerves most of the time, and for some people a lot more than is healthy or natural or comfortable, I think is the most important thing. So just inviting in that little bit of balance, and if anxiety is your go-to place right now, then I advise those stretches in particular, those types of stretches, anything that tends to release the back of the body. So we're kind of folding forwards, that letting go, that dropping in, those kind of stretches are the ones that will benefit you the most if anxiety is troubling you right now. Tune in for our next video, which is our top 3 Yin Yoga postures for depression. So lifting the mood, elevating how you're feeling, just, raising your frequency, raising your vibration, basically, just making you feel more light-hearted, more whole, in a better mood. Who doesn't want that? Okay, thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.